All right, again, this is It Protestant Israel National Radio, Root Sheva, and the show on YouTube is Messiah Hour. You can email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. Rabbi, I want to talk about a question a lot of people say, and I want to know the exact source and where this comes from. That I heard Kabbalistically, women are considered spiritually higher than men. It talks about that in the Kabbalah. I want to know if that's actually true, and if so, tell us about it.
Look, some commentators say when it says about the creation of women in the Torah, chapter 2, Genesis, and it says, Vayiven et hatzela. So the Zohar says, Tzela, by mistake people translate it into a rib, but in Hebrew, Tzela means side. So when Adam was created, it says he was man, and in the image of God he created him, man and woman he created them. So the Talmud says that basically Adam had two sides, female and male. Now then God separated the two sides into two different entities. And when it says Vayiven et hatzela, and the simple explanation of is and he and God built the rib, but the Zohar says no, it's not Vayiven, it's not build a rib, it's like giving extra understanding and knowledge from the word Binah, and he gave Havana, Binah, to that side of Eve, the women. So on one hand, we can see that women are much more intuitive. They have better tendency to spirituality. They reach that level much faster, much higher than men. And that's why you can see that maybe this is the reason why there's so many mitzvot that are not related to women, because as Ari is saying, it's like they reach that level much higher and much faster, so they don't have the need for that. So we know in a way somehow, women in history, there's stories about women putting on tefillin, but they don't have to, because they don't need to. And men, we know, if we look about life, have that higher tendency to fall into physicality, into being materialism, and that's why we can see. But that's not. You can't say that all the women are more spiritual than men, or all the men are more that than women. It depends. Every one of us has his own free will and his own destiny that he has to go through.
Now, I wanted to talk about another concept of davening as far as times, because I've heard for 10, 15 years to daven nates that Hashem will hear your prayer, or I'm not sure if he'll say yes, but something that it's a very special time to daven nates Chama. Can you tell us a bit about sources, and if it is true that Hashem's more likely to say yes, or he'll hear it better, whatever that might be?
First of all, you have to understand that it says, Ani Hashem lo shaniti, which means I am God, I never change. And that's a very important thing in Kabbalistic thinking. It's like the giving of Hashem is endless and it never changes. Now the question is what is our ability to receive from that giving, to draw from that giving? Now the mitzvot are basically tools that were given to us in order to draw Hashem's light, Hashem's bliss to our lives. Now, the mitzvot have limits. That's what the halacha is about. The halacha is giving us the limits. For instance, if you pray shacharit, what are the limits? When you still can pray shacharit, when it's not shacharit anymore, if you pray too late. Now, of course, the shacharit, the morning prayer, is connecting to the energy of chesed, to the frequency of chesed. Chesed, that's why the legend says, Avraham Avinu, Abraham the patriarch, he created the concept of shacharit, the morning prayer. Why Avraham Avinu? Because the morning prayer is a symbol of light overcoming darkness. When it is the strongest. Of course, in Netz, when the sun rises, that's where the shift is really happening between the night, darkness, and the day, which is light. Of course, that if you pray closer to Netz, your prayer has a better quality, because the cosmos, the universe around us, is not just simply that the sun rises. It's something physical that shows about something spiritual. Of course, the longer the hours pass after sunrise, the impact of chesed, the impact of that power of sharing and kindness that Hashem is giving us is dwindling till noon. Noontime, it's already time of sunset. And the sun sets because it's time of judgment. That's a time for mincha. And that's why the purpose of Tfilat Mincha, the prayer of the afternoon, is to quiet down the judgments. And that's why people feel more heavy in the afternoon. In the morning, it's a time for rejuvenation. If you wake up early and you just do everything early in the morning, you can do much more than if you do it later in the afternoon.
Right.
Because this is the nature of the world around us. It's the frequencies of energies that are shifting around us day to day, from the morning till the evening, and from Sunday till Shabbat. It's a shift of always, like, the changes that are happening in order for us not to fall asleep. Because humans have a terrible tendency to fall into habit and to be stuck in a box and never get out of it. So Hashem is like created a world that is changing always, so we have to move in order to keep ourselves okay.
Now, when it comes to davening mincha, there's a debate of when is the best time, mincha katan, mincha gadol, etc. Kabbalistically, what is the best time to daven mincha?
So there's no difference between Kabbalah and Halacha. The difference is that Kabbalah is talking about, it's all talking about what is the best. What is the best? What is the highest, like what's the optimum? There are few opinions. I'm not so sure that I can give you a real thing about it. But, one thing that the Ari is saying, that it's better to pray mincha closer to sunset, because then the judgment is stronger, and then the prayer of mincha has more impact on transforming the judgment in the universe and appeasing it. Appeasing in Hebrew means menucha, and that's what mincha is about. But it depends on also your feelings. Some people feel very much better if they pray mincha gdola. I myself personally, if I pray mincha gdola, when sunset is coming, I feel like something is missing. So, but that's because it's out of halacha. You can do whatever you feel like, whenever you can find a minyan.
Because I notice it's very common that in the yeshiva world, or kollels, they will daven mincha as early as they can, or usually it's like 1 to 15. But that could be also schedule. A person has work schedule, learning schedule. That's important as well, to not sacrifice that if they could pray at a time that's still okay according to the halacha.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, that's why I said that's why the halacha gives you a wider range of where to pray, when to pray, because the halacha tells you when it's okay to pray mincha, where is the best. Still, it gives you a range. Because let's say, we have all kinds of stuff around us, which is work, which is schedules, which is meetings, which is the obligations, stuff like this. So if you have the time to pray 1:15, and that's the best time you can find a minyan, so that's the time to do it.
And it's interesting because mincha is really the hardest of the three to pray, because in the morning it's before work starts, in the night it's after work or your daily activities. So it's always a very interesting prayer with mincha. Again, this is a prophecy here on Israel National Radio, Root Sheva, and the show on YouTube is Messiah Hour. Email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. Rabbi, let's talk about the concept of black magic. I was speaking about this with a friend of mine. There is a way, if a person wanted to, he could use the Kabbalah and then do things that are not, I guess, so good, if you will, on the side of good. Talk about what that is exactly, and what could happen because Kabbalah, like any powerful thing, it has to have responsibility. People have to take it seriously. People cannot use it the wrong way, or it will cause problems. So talk a bit about that to us.
I think that I heard two topics, if I'm not mistaken. You said black magic and Kabbalah. It's not the same topic.
Well, what I mean is that black magic could be used the wrong way. I guess explain what black magic is, because I think people have an idea that if you use Kabbalah the wrong way, it turns into black magic. So talk about what it is to clear it up for us.
Okay, the traditional terminology of what I think you're trying to say is Kabbalah Ma'asit.
Okay, yes.
Kabbalah Ma'asit is meaning it's a terrible translation to practical Kabbalah because it's not. Kabbalah Masit is the terminology of a person using incantations, names of angels, all kinds of potions and stuff like this, something that is really similar to stuff you can see in Harry Potter movies and stuff like this.
Right.
Now, the point is that using this kind of magic, there are a lot of books about it. Already, the Arizal said in the 16th century that this is totally out of question that you don't do that. No one, even if you really think you're powerful and you're big tzaddik, no one's supposed to do that. This stuff is not to be used. Okay? So, and saying black magic, it's not the word, but it's being referred to all kinds of magic practice among the nations. Now, any kind of black magic, the moment you say black magic, this is it sounds wrong, and it has nothing to do with Avodat Hashem, so that's nothing we should do about it. And that's something that you don't go to people to solve your problems that do that, not Jews and not non-Jews. This is something that all Kabbalists are saying. This is something beyond our limits. And the punishment can be really wrong because it's like putting your finger in the socket. Don't even try even to think about it. Now, there are things that are what I think you should is what about the ability to counter black magic?
Right.
And that's what the mitzvot are about. That's why you need, if you have a mezuzah, a kosher mezuzah, and you have you put on tefillin every day with the right consciousness, it's kosher tefillin, and you use the talit, you're supposed to be protected from this stuff. If, God forbid, somebody is using it around you. Yeah, but it's like you have to remember that the best way to remove darkness is bringing in light. And the mitzvot are the best tools to bring positive light into our lives. If you're focusing on that, then you'll be protected.
All right, well said. Again, this is It Prophecy here at Israel National Radio, Arut Sheva, and the show on YouTube is Messiah Hour. Email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. And Rabbi, this parsha this week is Vayigash. Last week with Miketz, Yosef is freed from prison. And then next week, or this week I should say, the brothers and him will be reunited. And I want to know your thoughts with the phrase Ani Hashem, because the way I look at it, Ani Yosef, it's supposed to be a prelude to when Hashem will reveal himself fully. After Mashiach comes, he'll say Ani Hashem. We understand everything at that point. I just want to know if you could add on to that concept.
Can you expand a little bit?
Sure. I mean, the idea is that there are a lot of confusing things in the world. We don't know why things happen. We know that there's a God, but we know he's hidden. And after Mashiach comes, my understanding is he won't be as hidden, or will be less hidden, and will understand things, and he'll reveal himself more fully, and things will make sense to us. I want to know, after Mashiach comes, if it talks about how exactly he will reveal himself as far as less hidden form. He'll still be hidden, I understand, but we won't have free will so much because things will be so clear to us, right?
Yeah. Yes, of course that after the coming of Mashiach we'll have less free will. We'll be busy doing some other stuff, but still what's going to happen after Mashiach, as far as I know from different Kabbalists and sages and from the Zohar, it's not so much out of our business. Our business is how can we bring the consciousness of Mashiach to our lives, everyday life, and that's basically what's important. Like what's in it for me today? That's what's important. So of course, the more a person is engaging himself into the rat race of materialism, of paying the mortgage, buying a house, buying a car and stuff like this, without being committed to faith and to values of the Torah, that's exile, as I said before. You're farther removed from Mashiach as it can be. Now, the more the person is engaging himself into the Avodat Hashem, into the study, into learning how to be more spiritual and positive, into learning how to do tzedakah, how to study, and how to be connected to to the kavanot of the tefillah and the rest of the mitzvot, the more you enlarge the dimension of spirituality in your life, then the more you experience Mashiach, which means the more you will be able to see Hashem in everything that you do. And basically, Mashiach is not something that happens just by itself. It's like, oh, we're doing this and this, and then by the schedule, Mashiach is coming, and then we do something else. Mashiach, you have to understand, it's a goal that has to be acquired by hard work, our hard work. It's not something we get for free. So it's not that, do your job, be a nice Jew, pay your dues to the community, do the prayers and the mitzvot, and wait till Mashiach comes, and then suddenly we're going to be redeemed. That's very childish. Very childish to think like this. Mashiach is something that is being achieved by hard work of the Israelite nation. And he can't just get it because just by having life that has no spiritual dimension. That you're not trying to improve yourself every day. And of course, the moment you pray, you're trying to improve yourself every day, as Rabbi Akiva is saying in the Ethics of the Fathers, Yagata u'matzata tamin. You put the effort, you'll find it. You'll find Hashem in everything you do. You find Hashem in what you study. You find Hashem in every mitzvah that you do. You'll feel the presence of Hashem wherever you go with you. But that's something that has to be acquired. And when most of us are doing that, that's bringing Mashiach closer to us. But that's not going to come for free. No free lunches in this universe.
Right, we got to work for it. Last question I have for you is, I want you to talk a bit about the importance of living in Israel, because we have a lot of people listening to this show who don't live in Israel. Maybe they're thinking about it, maybe they're not. I'm a big proponent of people moving to Israel. It's something I really believe in. I want to know if you could talk about that from a spiritual perspective, what it means to live in Israel.
Okay. It is widely known in the spiritual teachings. It's like not just Kabbalistic teachings, but it's everywhere. In the Talmud, Mishnah, in the commentators along, it says, Agar b'chutz la'aretz en lo Eloha. Whoever lives outside Israel, it's like he has no God.
Right.
Which is really terrible, because most of the Jews live outside of Israel for so many years, so they don't have a God. And that's why, if you read the halachot of praying Shmoneh Esrei, Tfilat Amidah, the silent prayer, and you realize that it says, and before you start the silent prayer, you take 3 steps backwards, which means you leave wherever you are, and then you take 3 steps forward. 1 step to Israel, 1 step to Jerusalem, and 1 step to the Holy of Holies in Bet HaMikdash, and that is where you pray. If you pray in New York or in Michigan or in Paris or in Nice, you're not praying. That's not a prayer. You have to have your mind, your thoughts, your heart in Israel, in Bet HaMikdash, when you pray, if you want your prayer to be connected to a real meaning. Because the dimension, yes, Israel is a physical location, but in the Torah and the commentators, you find Israel is also a spiritual dimension. That's why it's a holy land. Billions of people say this is the Holy Land. You can't argue with them. What's holy in Israel? It is a dimension. The Zohar says it's a crack in the shell of planet Earth. In that crack, holiness appears like nowhere else around the planet. So, of course, living in Israel is a big thing. But what if you don't live in Israel? You have to pray in Israel. You have to meditate or concentrate when you do the mitzvot, that you do it in Israel, because there is the connection. So that's why you say la'alot, to come up to Israel. You don't immigrate to Israel. You go up to Israel. You do aliyah. Aliyah means you ascend. You ascend not physically, because Israel is not so high. The many countries that are on mountains that are much higher than in Israel. We're talking about ascending to a higher spiritual frequency. And Israel is a much higher frequency. And Jerusalem is higher than all of Israel. And the Temple Mount is higher than all of Jerusalem. And if you want to connect to spirituality, this is the place to go. So that's why people come from all over the world to tap into it and to do aliyah, either to move to live or just to visit. Because the prayer in Israel is different, of course, if you're looking for it. But if you are totally Hellenized, and whatever you really believe that what science is saying, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist, which is a joke, because the scientists, most of what they discover, they don't see it. Nobody saw with their eyes DNA, still we know it affects our lives. Nobody saw radio waves, that's still affecting our lives. So leave that nonsense. This is not the only thing we don't see. The real things we don't see. But Israel is something you don't see, but look, whatever happens in Israel, the whole world is storming, and it's a big noise because this is the world navel. And people feel that. Try to make them explain why something small that happens in Israel can upset the whole world, while the same thing happening in another country nobody cares for. Because this is the connection.
It's truly fascinating. It's true. You look time and time again, Yahoo, Google searches, Israel's always in the top 5, and we're the size of New Jersey. It just doesn't logically make sense. Rabbi, this has been a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it. Everyone, check out Rabbi's website, livekabbalah.org, and my guest this afternoon has been Rabbi Shaul Youdkevitch. Thank you so much for being on the program today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and happy Channukah.
Happy Channukah. Be well.
Shavua tov.
Bye-bye. All right, that concludes today's episode of Is It Prophecy here on Israel National Radio, Arut Sheva, and the show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. Everyone out there listening, if you like this show, go to YouTube, type in Messiah Hour, and subscribe to my channel. We have a lot of great episodes up on there. My interview with Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, my interview with Dr. Gerald Schroeder, my interview with Rabbi Ken Spiro. The list goes on and on and on, so check it out. Messiah Hour, YouTube, go to that channel, subscribe. Take a look at those episodes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, it is a Jewish country, email me at messiahhour@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and have a great day. Shalom.